Welcome back to Southeast Texas Weekly. More big issues to come. We've got a lot we could talk about in terms of politics this week. But joining us, W.L. Pate, Beaumont City Councilman, and Michael Lindsay with Lindsay and Parsons Law Firm to talk about maybe the big issues. I mean, just emerging, this matter of the order by a federal judge to jail Kim Davis in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Put her in jail for this. Seem harsh? Seem like a disproportionately strict way for the federal judge to act in this case, or no?
Correct decision, good justice. She's an elected official. She needs to follow the law. She was elected to a secular position. This isn't a church-held position. And I think that the federal judge acted correctly, decisively, quickly, and I think that's the way to enforce the law correctly.
What do you think of this issue, though, that we've brought up in previous segments, where she believes she's standing on a different moral authority, the authority of God, as she has put it in some of the sound bites that I've heard from her. She believes earnestly that she's doing what she feels is the right thing in a larger law to her than the federal law.
Earnestly held beliefs are not a defense to not following the law in a secular civil position.
And I agree 100%, which is why I would say President Obama deciding to totally not pay any attention to the immigration laws. Go, oh, that was just laws, but I don't really want to follow those. And so y'all come on down. Come on down. And so it's okay for him to totally ignore the law. And I'm not saying this lady should. I'm saying neither one of them should. But President Obama flaunts it and says, I know we have immigration laws, but, that's really not fair. And I've decided that it's not fair. And so y'all come on down and we'll make a place for you. And that's what that does. We have 92 million people that aren't working. Now we're bringing people over with no skills.
Well, so we've talked about the civil rights movement, a tremendous success in many ways, and some would argue that it needs to go much further. I would probably argue as well that it needs to go much further in the civil rights movement. We've had the marriage equality movement as well, where same-sex marriage is the law of the land. Are we going to see a new civil rights movement among people of faith in this country who believe that their civil rights and religious freedoms have been violated? Are we 10 years, 20 years from now, are we going to see that?
I would hope we'd follow the Constitution, which supports the separation of church and state, and there's room for both in separate areas. And that was what the Founding Fathers had in mind.
The Founding Fathers were so strongly immersed in the belief of God that they allowed churches to meet in the Capitol building on Sunday because they weren't using the building. Now that was our Founding Fathers.
Our Founding Fathers were agnostics, and most of them were not true believers.
That's right. That's why they say we're given unalienable rights from who?
From God, they
God.
said.
Oh, well, no, they didn't.
Well,
they were agnostic.
These
no,
police
seriously.
shootings, the police shootings around the nation must be terribly troubling for you as well. How do we get around this? What is occupying the president that's more important for him to come forward? He's spoken on many social issues around the country. Now that you see this trend over and over again, we're seeing a lot of violence against police officers. Should the president be involved?
The president was criticized last month for going to Charleston to speak on behalf of the Charleston Nine that were murdered, and comments were made that every time there's a shooting, Obama's the first person to the microphone. Now this time the president is not at the microphone, not at the pulpit, and he's being criticized. So I think the answer is Barack Obama's going to be criticized whatever he does do or doesn't do.
Any thoughts?
Well, President Obama is going to be criticized, no question about it. When you're president, you're criticized for doing this or not doing that. However, when the job of the police force is to protect our rights, when they get gunned down and murdered,
and the social media seems to be making it sound as if it's almost a movement that
The Black Lives Matter is run by a guy that's being when you look back, and I hope the news media actually checks and finds out who's funding this. You can't just do this all over the place for free. Somebody's shelling money into that. I think you're going to see some of the usual suspects for progressive, liberal, way out far left groups that are pushing Black Lives Matter. That it's the black life, everybody's lives matter. What
Well,
about the black kids that are shot
that's
in
right.
Chicago? That
And that's right.
Nobody knows
and the
who
terrible
they are.
irony is that with these, maybe the movement on the part of this group, Black Lives Matter, is being undermined because the essential notion, I think you would agree, is a good idea, is that Black lives do matter.
Absolutely.
All lives do matter, and I'm shocked to hear anybody say that anybody on the liberal side would promote funding
Terrible
of any
irony,
kind
but
of
it's true.
terrorist
I've got
I
5
would-
seconds. I'm going to have to
I would
run,
think that's
gentlemen. I
great. But
appreciate
hey,
it.
don't forget Lamar football this weekend.
See you later.
Southeast Texas Weekly, brought to you by the Modern Vein Surgery Institute at Privity Clinic for Surgical Care.